Oh. Good morning. Welcome back to When Pigs Fly. I am Patty and I'm joined by Renee and Tracy. And today we have a special guest. We are doing 1 hour today with Kelly S. Jones, S like Sam. For those of you, because we know that Kelly Jones is a popular name, but we have the one and only Kelly S. Jones today. She's a transformational life coach. And our topic today is going to be about love. But before we get to that, I have a few housekeeping items because we're changing some stuff up a bit. Starting this week with today's episode, we will be airing live on Monday and Friday weekly, but we're not letting you down on Wednesdays. On Wednesdays, I'm going to continue with the Schumann resonance reports and giving you guys basically a cosmic forecast. So those will be short, but it'll kind of keep tie over between Monday and Friday because we know you're going to miss us. And we wanted to keep some information coming your way. But also, we're doing this because many of you were trying to keep up with us. And we know that you're going back and referencing past episodes, and that's helping in your journey. So we're tapping the brakes a little. We're going to go to 2 episodes weekly that still will be live, and then adding in a little Schumann update. Okay. So with that said, Kelly, welcome. Good morning.
Good morning, Patty, Renee, Tracy. Good to be here. Thank you so much. I'm ready to have some fun with both of you. I mean, all of you. All of you. Yeah.
We're ready to have fun with
one-on-one. Sorry,
Yeah.
what?
I said we're ready to have fun with you.
Absolutely. So I know that when we reached out to you, you said you would love to talk about being loved, and couldn't think of a better time to follow up with this because the eclipse energy is really encouraging us all to get into the state of being of love. So we would love to hear what you have to say about being loved.
I'll add my 2 cents, if you will, and I can't wait to hear what everybody else has to share. And I guess even the comments, right? Because people will comment that you can later in future episodes reply to and respond to. Yeah. To me, being loved is probably the most important, not probably, it is the most important subject on the entire planet, right? And we're all here to actually love ourselves. And the problem is that most of us don't even know what that means. And we're all figuring that out, if you will. And it's a big piece of, the purpose that we're here. And in being loved and in knowing how to love ourselves, we get very confused because we've got a world that tells us everything but how to love ourselves, right? We've got the world that tells us that being guilty is good, that sacrifice and suffering are heroic. We put labels and put on pedestals that which is actually not being loved. And one thing that I know people have a hard time hearing, like when I even talk to my clients, and it, when we throw wisdom at hard, fast, held to social norms and, things that we've been programmed to believe and understand, it throws these monkey wrenches. And it's like the mind goes, what the heck? And how do I sort that out? And what does that mean for me in my life? And one of those is, right, when we're told I am my brother's keeper. Any thoughts on that one?
That's well, first I want to say Kelly helped me through something that I had no idea was happening just earlier, like last week or something. So she helped me through with just her wisdom and her knowledge. And it was really about loving, myself and letting go of all this other stuff. And I mean, that was huge because I thought like, okay, that was all done, and recognizing how it was playing out in my life in this time. So this whole aspect, this whole thought of exactly what you're saying it makes perfect sense, but you're right. We don't recognize how we are thinking we have to take care of everybody else, but we're the first ones that we have to, take care of. And I think that's such a huge thing that people aren't recognizing. People really think that we have to take care of everybody else first. And then that's what happens within our systems where the separation and all that, comes in.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And
That's-
energetically, what happens with that is it's funny because now that thank you, Renee, for getting me on track because when she first made that comment, I was like, okay, wait, what? Crickets. I'm caught on now. But one of the big energies that just got cleared quite literally is that false sense of responsibility. And it was an energetic that grew on its own, that got entangled. It was, ancestral, like, and very, like, and societal and environmental and all of those ways. And it prevented us from having that easy access to self-love. Because it was, oh no, you're selfish if you think about yourself, like literally out of the gate. Oh no, no, we were taught, ignore yourself. You ignore yourself, you have to take care of everybody else first. And then, right? No, well, that was the inversion, right? We talked about the inverted energy of the eclipse, right? And this is so true. And give yourself permission to let that sucker go. It is so not serving you. It's, you're dragging anchor. You're a dragon anchor. Pull, like cut it off. Tracy, I see you deep in thought. Come on, what do you got?
And I speak a lot to all the systems and the structures having to be dismantled because I think, Kelly, you referred to it, has been very set up to be confusing. And what comes to me a lot is I've discovered how many people, children, employees, even, close friends, it gets projected upon me that their well-being is my responsibility. Now, it's a whole other conversation with children, of course, but I have really switched from the mindset of your choices are no longer going to be my consequences. Now, why I say that is because a lot of systems have been put into place where it actually, I'm just going to use an easy one with my employees and managers. Their choices almost always end up a consequence for me, which I think I'm bringing this to the table because I think it really puts a lot of mental confusion in the entire game. Whereas it's almost as if our own well-being keeps trying to get pulled from us because of all of these other ramifications, schooling, what you see in the job force, so I think it's a complex conversation, but it's such a simple awareness of bringing it all back home, like trying to really just let all that chatter go and bring it back home and just bring it back to your heart and just kind of refocus, gosh, I love me, how amazing I am. I'm so amazing. Kind of pushing everything else away. So I think that's important going forward too, to have an awareness of it.
Well, all of us, right? We're speaking to, obviously it's a very robust subject. I mean, it's the name of the game, right? It's why we're all here. And it's one thing I wanted to say, right, is when we prioritize ourselves, it's very uncomfortable. So, right. So it's like that fear, what are they going to think of me if I'm, loving myself, then somebody else might not love me for doing that. And I just want to speak to a little bit of what you just said, Tracy, because to me, there's lots of aspects I speak to when it comes to being loved. And one of them is actually having compassion for somebody else. And in that compassion, the first thing is to recognize that we are in a dance of mirrors. So we're in a universe and we're having all these experiences, right? And all these people are showing up and they're affecting us. Their choices are affecting us. But part of loving ourselves is our interpretation of how that actually affects us. And when we're triggered, we're actually not in choice of interpretation. There's some other part of us, right, that's coming up from underneath and taking charge and taking over and going, and doing or saying whatever. But when we're in our consciousness, we're slowing down. And I've been guided to say this for 12 years now, slowing down to move at the speed of love. So obviously that's one of my big lessons, right? Because patience wasn't my forte for sure. So as we slow down and we look at, because like you said, we have to know how to access our heart. And the problem is our hearts are shut down. And therefore, it's very hard for us to know how to love ourselves. And so we have to start opening our heart up and we have to start taking self-responsibility for our experiences. And that means 100%. It doesn't mean I get to cherry pick and choice and pick, well, this feels good, therefore I own it and claim it, but this doesn't. And you're the cause of my problem and you're to blame. And so when I acknowledge that as some part of me as well, now I start to have a different way of saying, am I showing up in a way, and what is it within me that's attracting that experience to me, that's calling that to me, that I'm not able to see in myself, but I can see it in you, right? We've all heard if you spot it, you got it. Right? So it's the harder part. And I think, Renee, I think that's what you and I were talking about the other day. It's like the part where, help me see myself. And in my seeing myself, help me love that part that's so afraid or is so unaware of what love really is and what love can really do for me in this moment. And it helps us to actually see personas we've created, and we've either come in because we've had them, right? We've had these belief structures that are already steadfast in place, and we land in a family that just mirrors that back to us. And we go, how the heck did I end up here? Right? But then when we go, okay, some part of me really didn't believe I was worthy, and I just kept bumping into a brother or mother or a grandmother, and they never gave me what I wanted. They never asked me. That was one of my things, right? I was never asked what I wanted because there was some part of me believed it didn't matter. What I want doesn't matter. So when I live and I don't have people ask me that, it's like, oh, what part, Kelly, do you need to heal? Recognize I do matter. What I want matters, and start giving it to myself. Then I start getting the mirror of others coming forward with that.
Yeah.
Can I just ask, like, you're getting the mirror of people coming forward with that, of you're recognizing that, okay, now it's worthy of me being loved. Is that
so right? So so now it's like when I have somebody come forward and go, oh, well, what do you want to do? Right? What would feel good to you? Right? I'm open. What do you want? It's like, oh, that's me recognizing I value myself. What I want is important. So it's a very small example. I know we've got a lot of bigger examples we could work with, but yeah.
No, but I think that's perfect, because in the very beginning, people will start to recognize that, especially in this energy. I feel like, there's a bigger awareness here or whatever. So it's that component of bringing that forward. But for somebody that might not be, like, for me, like, okay, I didn't realize until, we were speaking, like my son had said, you always got this venom coming out of your mouth. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, of course, I was like, what are you kidding? I'm like, oh, wait,
what fucking venom?
Exactly. Maybe you're right. I do. And, Kelly helped me, see that, okay, well, what is behind that? Where is it? And it really ended up being something, from very young childhood, and helped me do that. So how do you assist people, Kelly, in starting to recognize that there is something missing or whatever, or even recognize, well, what is love? Like, I never knew, like people would say, well, go into love. I'm like, I don't know what the hell that is. Like, years ago where, that I did, but how do you assist people in getting into that, or what would be something that you would recommend them, like, start to have an awareness, or to do whatever to recognize, wait, I'm missing this. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And thank you for the question. So I'll just even use the example I had with the client this morning. And it takes self-awareness, right? And usually what happens is there's different stories flying into my mind right now. Like, I'll say it. One of my very first feng shui clients, right? It was like he kept bumping his knee under his desk and bumping his knee and bumping his knee. And I'm like, what's going on, Peter? Like, you keep bumping your knee. Clearly something needs to change. Right? So the problem is we typically wait till we're in suffering. And there's also a belief that we deserve to suffer, or we deserve to sacrifice. And we don't recognize, wait a minute, suffering's not part of why we're here. So in the suffering, that's where we can start to go, okay, antennas go up. I'm in pain. I'm suffering. I'm stuck. What do I need to know about what's happening here? What is it that I have the power to do to change this situation, right? I'm not feeling good. And let me see if I can dovetail this example with my client this morning. Yeah. Okay, so she lives in a city where it's lots of tall buildings and lots of apartments and pipes. And she just, like, in her whole building, she's the only one that has cold water. There's no hot water in her unit only. Now she's been dealing with this for a month. And she goes, why am I not taking care of myself? And I was like, good question, right? And she recognized that her mother on the other side was always, whenever something happened, always going, get it done, get it done, get it done. Where do I go? Where do I go? Who's going to do it? Now, meanwhile, she sees her mother as dramatizing and it's like dramatic. It's like, oh, and then, oh, is it going to be done right? Now, meanwhile, she waits, right? She doesn't want to be her mother, but she's not taking care of herself. So she waits until the very last minute. Now it's drama. Oh, I have to take care of myself. So it's going back in time, so to speak, to go, okay, wait a minute. Once I recognize, and to me, this is like this total solar eclipse, right? We're eclipsing our own past, our own behaviors, how we've been. And we're saying, wait a minute, it's showing up now. How do I now take care of myself? And maybe that taking care of myself is stepping away, right? And that's one of the things we talked about too, Renee, right? It's like, okay, I'm being triggered. I might need to step away. That is the most loving thing for me to do before I inappropriately spew on you or make you my problem or whatever, because boy, right now you look like my problem. And right now I really believe you are my problem. But until I can go and sit in, time out was really for us to self-reflect. It wasn't to be punished, right? That's the other thing. We all believe we deserve to be punished, right? So we self-reflect and we go, okay, wait a minute. I deserve. I know my worth. I know my value. I deserve to be loved. I deserve to be taken care of. I deserve to be in a place of peace and harmony. So what is it I need to do in this situation that is at first independent of others, right? So my client needed to recognize I'm taking cold showers, right? Like the first time she could have said, I'm taking cold showers and this doesn't feel good. What can I do? And take the time, right? Because we often don't believe we have time and we don't believe we deserve somebody else's time. There's another belief that it could be bumped up against, right? That I'm a burden to others, right? If I'm asking for my needs to be met and I need help, okay? I hope I'm walking a straight line because I can go all over the place. So am I making sense so far?
So can we.
Yes.
We're following you. I'm following you.
Yes, we're good.
Okay. So then we come up with that awareness and then we love ourselves to find our words, right? What are our words that are going to convey our needs? Now, here comes the next piece, which is really interesting because then it's a question of who's the right person. We have this mindset that because I ask you, you're responsible. Have you ever gotten that feeling? Because somebody asked you, you're responsible. I better come up with your answer. I better help you. I better figure it out for you. Incorrect, right? That's not part of being loved. Being loved is directly connecting with our source. That's our first line of communication. I always call it the L, right? Love. Vertical first, then horizontal afterwards, right? So the divine is going to bring me the right person. I'm going to ask you, and in a way, I'm going, are you the right person? So the mother had it right in the sense that, are you? She was frantic because she was nervous and creating drama along the way. But had she been in that trust, knowing the divine is going to take care of me, I'm going to ask you, are you the right person? Yes, no, until we have the right person show up. Then they're in a love relationship with me and the rightness, right? The divine alignment, the divine timing, all of that. And when I have the right person, things are easy. There is no drama. It's synchronistic. And all the while I'm in divine timing because I'm trusting the universe. I'm trusting the divine will show up and will bring me what I need. I know there's a piece I left out and I'm trying to see if I can pull that back in. Any comments, questions? I know that was a lot. Did I wrap that up nicely?
Go ahead, Patty. Were you going to say something?
Yeah, no, I followed it, perfectly. And I'm trying to think of how we could, maybe another way. Like, I'll tell you how I interpret it. Okay. And that is like, we talk about this a lot, is like is getting to the point where you go from trusting the guidance to actually knowing it's there. And I think for our audience, they're very good at trusting, right? They're absolutely trusting it. And we have them stepping outside of their comfort zone, and going, okay, the unknown is okay. And the unknown can be exciting. And then knowing what Tracy actually, we were just speaking, I think off camera, about truth, right? Asking for your truth. And so it's all the same, different ways of saying essentially the same thing. And I think for me, when I would like Renee, when someone said, oh, well, feel maternal love. And I was like, well, if you didn't experience that, what reference point do I have? I think the neighbor's kid had it, but that wasn't my mom, right? So for me, it was absolutely awkward to say, okay, I look in the mirror and say, I love you. And it's awkward at first. You're like closing your eye, you go, this is ridiculous, but it's that, and then staying with it, and then you get to trusting is the first. You're having faith in the process. And then you get this beautiful moment where you just know. And when that's when the fun comes in and you create. And so, I mean, personally, that's been my journey with self-love. Absolutely awkward, unknown. I would hear all of these, references of this type of love and that type of love. And I think the key is that love does not come from an outside source. If you're looking for it in an outside source, you're looking in the wrong direction. It's actually in you. It's a state of being. And if I feel like I'm having like a difficult time connecting to my heart, I find something that warms my heart. I can look at a picture of my friend's dogs, and it melts my heart. I look at these baby Highland cows on TikTok, but if you have a hard time saying, what does unconditional love feel like in my heart? That's it. So we all do have the ability you can't lose it. No matter what you've experienced in this carnation, you never lose that ability. It's in there. And so for me, it's learned like, okay, ooh, what sparks that again? And then the energy now supports it. I want more of this. I want more baby Highland cows. I don't want them in my house, but can I watch endless videos of them? Yes. And so, it's finding, okay, what resonates with me, and double down on that and say, ooh, that's self-love. That's showing, a nice hot bubble bath. That's showing yourself love, and not going, ooh. Another thing I do, as you were talking, I was making mental notes. So I'll go quick so the ladies can jump in here. But I do this thing with my friends now where we give ourselves permission to say no to each other. So it's like, especially it's your besties, right? Hey, let's go out. I'm not feeling it. And instead of going, I'm sorry. Oh my God, don't get mad at me. I can't go. And it's like, no, we can call each other now and go, you know what? I'm not feeling it because I feel like I need to be doing something else for myself right now. And that is okay. That's self-love. And then having that compassion, we have that compassion for each other and it's cool because I had a conversation with one of my close friends the other day, and she said, we're being authentic with each other, right? I'm like, hello, who did you just call? And it was cool. She needed to change a plan. And I was like, fantastic, because then I know that means I follow my guidance. I was meant to be doing something else in a different situation. And I'm going to follow my energy, and she's following her energy. And I love this person, and you let them go. And so for me, like, that's kind of how I, that's how I pull my pieces together.
I love that. Trace, how about you? What do you got? You look like you're in deep thought there.
I am, because we're all having the experience of where we're at and what's going on in our life. And I'm just going to be honest, this topic doesn't come a lot in my forefront because I have a lot of other topics that are in the forefront for my life. So the only thing, or a big thing, maybe not, look at that. So what I have noticed is, I guess, because I'm trying to really think this through, because my husband and I are entrepreneurs, we've owned our own businesses for 25 years. So that puts you in a certain mindset of you kind of are always operating at a different level of not with the herd, not with the masses. You kind of have to have really thick skin. You kind of have to operate in your own parameters with your own dynamics. So I think by default, if you are in your own business and to the level we are, you start developing these navigation tools through life. And I loved what you said, the dances with the mirrors, because what probably brought it a little more into my awareness is having kids and watching them grow up with outside influences, what the school says, what social media says, what their friends think and say. And I've always just come from a mindset of, I don't really care what anyone else is doing. This is what I do. And I don't, why I got that, I don't know. I think it makes us very successful in business because I really don't give a shit what anyone else is doing. This is what I want to do. I'm going to do it well. And if you don't like it, there's 1,000 other choices. So that said, having kids really brought it in to kind of a broader perspective of how the world works. And then I'm going to tell you where I'm at in my life of watching how all of society programming and systems and structure put up so many roadblocks to our own self-worth, to our own love. So for me, that's what I am really magnifying light on. And I say, I put my energy right in the middle of situations that I'm not in alignment with. So my energy starts breaking down the untruths in the scenario. So honestly, I like I said, we're all looking at the topic of self-love from where we're at and what our direct experience is and what we have moved through and what we're still moving through. So it's kind of a different perspective from what we're talking about, but I think it's very worthy to bring up, especially of this eclipse energy, because everyone should start to question, the religion, the school system, the medical system, all the governmental regulations. In my opinion, in my experience, I think a lot of them throw people back into a mindset of you aren't worthy, you're not in charge of who you are. By everyone else's standards, you don't measure up. So I know for me, that's a lot of energy that I'm bringing every day, recharting the course, redefining what love is and how we value it. And by clearing all that, I think it gives us the opportunity to anchor into our own love, our own concept, our own source, and kind of maybe see it clearer. Stop looking at all the external sources and validation for and of love, so we can be in it more clearly right here. Like you said, right here. It's just right here. Close out all the other chatter. So that's kind of where I'm at in my life and what I'm working with.
I love that. And Kelly, I loved when you were like that big L. That's like so perfect. And I love the visual aspect of it. Like that L, it's, coming down, into the heart and then expanding out, forward, and being recognizing and being aware, like, what I took of that was really being aware of the times in your life or the people in your life that are sort of making you feel bad, and recognizing this person's not coming from love, or a friend that, is keeping track of when you talk to me, when you didn't talk to me, you haven't called them, whatever, and you haven't, like, I love the friends that I have because I don't have to talk to them for a year, and then we just pick up the phone and it's like, oh my God, like there's none of that stuff. But that was a tough thing to come to because, friends, relationships, people that you've had for a long time, starting to recognize when things aren't smooth and aren't easy, because to me, it's that piece of like, that person's not respecting, my self-love. And that's really the first time I'm really using it in that particular way of saying it, but not recognizing that, okay, look, I'm important, and I'm sorry that I'm not showing up for you in the way that I've showed up for you for the last 10 years of you bitching about the same damn thing and not, I've got compassion, I've got love for you, but I'm going to not hold this space. But recognizing now that in order for me to stand in the love that I have for myself, I'm going to have to step away from that and recognize that that's okay. Right. Is that like a, big, component there? And yeah.
We often, again, it's a little bit back to that whole idea of I am my brother's keeper, right? This is like, I have to take care of you, but meanwhile, it's at my expense, right? So what you're saying, what we're all saying in our own way is we're not going to do anything at our expense. And we have been programmed that way. And we have been, the herd mentality. And there's a lot of fear to break out of the herd mentality. And what does that mean? And we, right, as leaders and as light worker leaders, to help people recognize that they're safe in their own light, they're safe in their own knowing, they're safe in their own wisdom. And Patty, I think you addressed something beautifully as well about, and it's super important, and you're commenting on it as well, Renee, that we're having to know ourselves, right? That classic know thyself. And in knowing thyself, then we have to be true to ourselves. And in order to be true to ourselves, we have to be honest with ourselves. And really what we're talking about is becoming intimate with ourselves, right? Intimate is into me see, right? So we have to be wanting to have that intimacy first here and feeling safe in ourselves in that intimacy. And then, right, it's kind of like that. To me, one of our biggest fears, right? We had the experience of separation. We created that. So we have this huge fear of loss. And this idea that I'm going to lose you. I'm going to lose something that's outside of myself. But if I lose myself, then I'm never going to have anything out there anyway. So, right, being intimate with the self is ensuring and shoring up that relationship, that self-love relationship, and only acting in my best interest at all times. And that has to do with what you're saying, Renee, which is right. It's my vibration. And my vibration is very important to me. And I get to decide what is in my field and what is not, what I do and what I don't do, what I allow and what I don't allow. And, it's interesting. I've had to let friends go also. I'm sure we all have, everybody across the planet probably has been through this experience in one way, shape, or form. And it's like, when it's almost like the pain benefit becomes so imbalanced enough, and there's no way of communicating from a heart-centered place, right? So, Patty, you said it in a way that all of you agreed. That's lovely, but that's not always where people are at, right? It's like nice to have that great conscious group of friends that you can say, hey, listen, let's be authentic and let's be real. But when people are trying to get there, or they're in relationship trying to learn, how do I love myself and then allow you in? I feel safe with myself enough that I can find the perfect words to communicate my truth to you and ask you to hold space for me. And then, right, I'm letting you see into me. I want to have an intimate relationship. Then what do we do then? And that's where people can really get tripped up. And that's where we start bumping into a lot of, egos or subconscious or old beliefs that no longer serve. So we have to stand up, if you will, stand up for ourselves and behind us.
Absolutely. And one of my slogans is other people's opinions of me are none of my business. It has to start there. And it's a great, place to start. And I feel like a lot of our listeners are absolutely practicing this. Don't you guys agree that they're like, for our audience, many of them are absolutely practicing self-love and taking, like, we've given them many tools and things. And so now it's, how do you expand that? How can you go into, stillness, for example? And how important is that, right? And so I would love to talk a little bit about, and I see Renee is getting some information while I'm talking. How do we then, when you do get into your heart, now you're not done. How do you allow that expansion to happen? And I believe like what Tracy's talking about is really Tracy operates from expansion. She's like, give me the big, right? She asks for the big picture to come. So can we touch a little bit on how we then, once you're in your heart, how can we expand?
Well, wait, sorry.
Go ahead.
But can we first talk about, because there's, people out there that are starting to tune in and starting to be, and they're starting to recognize with Kelly's conversation that, oh my God, I'm not loving myself in certain areas. Like, just like I had recognized, with your help, Kelly, of, oh my God, like you're here. I was like, okay, I'm in love. And then recognizing, oh my God, there's a whole piece that I left behind that I wasn't loving myself in, and it was reflecting out. So can you first talk to that whole aspect of how would you help people, or what would you say to people to begin, what would be the tools or whatever to begin to, and we've talked about this, in a couple episodes too, but from your perspective, Kelly, how would you start people to begin to recognize, or they're recognizing now that, oh my God, this is what's happening. How do I now move forward from that point? Am I making myself clear?
Yeah,
Like,
you're saying,
like
what would they, how, and I got what you're throwing down. You're
Thank
saying,
you.
how would I have the awareness that I'm not fully loving myself? Does that make sense?
Then what do I do?
Kinda-
Yeah.
And then, and then what do you, then how do you get help?
Thank you.
Well, and it's really interesting because I have the ability to hear things that are not being said, right? It's like we're saying something and there's something else that's behind it, or wanting to be spoken to or heard, or right, just kind of touched upon. And when I hear we're in our power, we're in our love, we're being that, I'm hearing also that it can be a bit of a glossing over of where I'm not. And I think, Renee, you're talking to what happens, right? So yes, there's the part we are in our power, we do know it, and we're operating there. But the question is, so here's the awareness piece. How long am I functioning there, and what dips me? When do I dip? When do I feel that, right? And it might be that moment where I need the kitty cats, or I need the cows, or I need that thing that uplifts me. But it's not at the expense of not looking to say, well, what was that dip, in case there's something more there, right? Because that's hidden, unseen piece that's wanting TLC. It's saying, I'm tired, or I'm this, or I'm believing that, and I need a lift. Well, we know our soul doesn't need a lift.
You're saying don't use it as a distraction. Don't use it as a distraction, right? Instead, feel into it and say, oh, okay, what got me here why am I craving
that? That we're not fooling ourselves. That's all.
Yeah.
I mean,
and no masks.
Right. I get that. Right. And I get, where we go do our work and then we need to replenish, we need to revitalize. And, it's like, I think we all, like Tracy says, in a way, we pick our arenas. We're here to make an influence, an impact, and pick our arenas, so to speak. And, so just when energy dips would be a moment, and it takes a willingness, right? So we have to first say, I'm willing, right? If I'm not willing to look, or I'm willing to see myself, then forget it. We're not going to. And I've had plenty of I'm not willings in my life for me, like, oh, hell no, right? And so it's like, and still, it's like, and I love the light bulb moments. As many as those light bulb moments come along, there are so many more. Like, we're not done. It's just like, it's just going to keep getting exponentially stronger, bigger, more powerful. And oh my God, this is amazing, right? So I'm working at whatever level I am to go, okay, I'm working on raising my awareness. When am I dipping? When am I blaming somebody else for my problem? I'm still in that journey, in that process. Boy, I'm getting a lot better. Boy, I've aligned so much stronger with the truth of me. Am I there 24/7 consistently? No. And that's what I speak to say, okay, when I'm not, what else am I clearing up? What else do I need to love in me? Right? And that to me is the evolution and the name of the game, right? So great when we're there, good. But so I would say it's the dip, right? We'll kind of put it in our context. I would say it's when the dip is happening that we, again, slow down. I mean, my mind likes to go fast. I'm not a great reader, so that's always funny, right? It's like, I sometimes wonder if I have a little dyslexia because it's like, I have to read slow, but my mind is fast. I think all of our minds are fast, right? They work at lightning speed, but it wants to go fast, but our heart's going, hey, slow down, slow it all down. And in that slowing down, right? I mean, one of the things I know to be true, and I don't always sit there, right? It's like go into the place where nothing can disturb you and you allow nothing to disturb you. And that's the space we're wanting then to operate from. So really the shift to me is always and often, right? It's like, it's so minute. It's like this minutia thing. It's like, if I just shift this tiny little bit, then I can come from my heart consistently versus, and one of the things that I look at, again, not to put us go backwards, if you will, but it's like, we often operate in hidden agendas. Well, I want to know what my hidden agendas are. And I'm going to have people mirror those for me too, right? But it's got like the hidden agendas, it's hidden from us, right? It's hidden from us. So, when we're operating a means to an end, right? And we don't recognize our mind is in this mindset. I'm going to get this done and to hell with everything else and whatever comes in my way. You're blocking me or you're opposed to it or you're right. It's like, then you're the problem and I got to deal with you and you're slowing me down. Get the hell out of my way. That's not being in the dance of mirrors. That's being in a path of, let's say, hidden. I'm just giving an example, right? Hidden agendas. So it's like, oh no, what if that thing that just came up is actually to slow me down, get me in my heart and have a conversation here, because boy, when I have that conversation, it might make the rest of that path actually just open wide open.
It's happening for you.
And right. And we know that, but the personas we have don't, the masks that we have don't, right? And that goes back to the responsibility piece.
Of knowing your truth, the truth of who you are.
Truth of you.
Practicing that moment to moment.
Yeah.
That's
did that
the fun.
and did that answer your question, Renee, too?
Yeah, and I did like, like I was writing some notes or whatever. I really like that recognition, and I think this is gonna like hit home for a lot of people when you had said so, because I want to double down on it. Like when you're blaming someone else for, oh, you're my problem.
Yeah.
That I think, like I can, remember back, when I was in that space, years ago, and not really recognizing, like, well, no, it's them. And, I hear that a lot from my clients, it's them, this person is doing this. So I think it's really important to sort of double down and recognize when you're blaming someone else for your unhappiness or what's going on, that's the time to really look in the mirror and like, come back and like, okay, what is going on here? And I think that's like, really important to say and to know and to recognize and to see, okay, when you're in that place, then what? Like what, what do they then do from that point?
That's a good question, right? Because that's the first piece, right? Is there's awareness something's going on and they're not my problem, right? So then we have to, I call it double jeopardy. Then we have to watch, right? That we don't judge the judger, right? That we judge ourselves for having that. I just blame somebody. Oh God, right? So then we get nowhere. There's the closing of the heart even more. So I can't love myself. So, right, I have to, how I treat myself is how much my heart stays open. Right? So, okay, I'm going to be compassionate and loving with myself that I just had this experience that I think they're the problem. Well, now it's a question of, okay, I think they're the cause of my problem. What am I actually feeling? What do I believe? And we've all heard this before, but boy, when we really slow it down, it becomes really profound, right? We know this. To go, okay, what is it I heard? What is it I felt? Sometimes it's a question of, when did I first feel this way, right? Because here we've got over here in consciousness, this cocooned off, isolated experience and memory that hurt so damn bad our mind brilliantly. And we are amazing beings to go, I couldn't function if I stayed focused on that at the time. So, right. I mean, how many of us can have a smell of food or hear something? Okay, I got to tell you a story. You're going to love this. My daughter, who's now 35, when she was 2, I said the F word really loud in traffic. Like, I was working so hard to be such a good mom. I was like, no more curse words, right? No, 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 no. And I'm driving in Miami traffic and I'm like, and I was like, she's in her car seat in the back. I was like, oh God. It's like, Mommy's sorry, like she didn't know what I'm saying or why. So then 3 years later, she's 5 years old. We're in the kitchen and she goes, I was flashback. I'm like, I'm in the car. She's 2. She's in the car seat. And I'm like, I know exactly. And I'm like, embarrassment. Like, okay, the family's around, of course it can't just be her and I, right? So it's like, blam. So point being, right, I can have a smell and it takes me back to summer camp or, an experience. We, like, these things are available to us lickety split. And we've got sometimes the whole story, but sometimes we have none of the story in that moment because we're being triggered and it's so quarantined. Well, this is where we slow down and we start unpacking that and we go, what is it I'm feeling? You said this. Yeah, you're the trigger. You're the beautiful being I called forward in my experience so I can understand myself better and love myself free from my memory, from the belief I created from that memory, from a memory before or a belief before, and the emotions connected to it. And I'm just going to take this opportunity because I'm being guided to throw this in for everybody. Rage to me is the #1 pandemic on the planet. Mm-hmm. We have a lot of pent-up rage and we've not addressed it. And the world shows us we have it. It's not hidden, right? No. What do they call it? Hidden in plain sight? Right?
Yeah, it's not hidden
anyway. Right. But it is hidden in the sense that here it is right in front of us, but we're not identifying it for what it actually is. So when we slow down and we recognize and we say, wait a minute, what is it in me that I'm believing they're the problem? What did I believe I need to be? Who is it I think I have to be in order to maybe satisfy them? Or who do I think they need to be to satisfy me? Now, why do I believe they have to be other than who they actually are, right? Patty, you don't want to go to dinner. Why should I have to be other than what did I originally think I had to do that for? Why? And Tracy, you mentioned it, right? Approval and validation from outside of ourselves. And this is where we start to really heal those pieces and clear the emotional baggage that we have stored in our cellular memory. And we all have it, even with the turn of the solar eclipse, we're still healing it. And yes, we're to be more on top of it. We're to be more present for it. We're to not wait. It can't be shuffled under the carpet anymore. That's how I see it. It's not that we're all going to come out rosy and acting perfectly yet. We're getting there. We're getting there.
Oh, but everybody's, yeah.
My perspective anyway.
Everybody's being pushed forward. Everybody's being pushed forward. And it's, you choose, like, are you aware that you're snapping? Okay, I just lost my shit. Now, am I going to go, no, but do I need to win this argument? Do I need to, this person cut me off, right? What story are you telling yourself? And then stopping and going, hold on. Why am I choosing this reality? Why am I choosing this reality? I could have some beautiful music playing and then just let this go by. And it is like a movie. You can either let it go by or you can stop and get entrained in it and entangled in it. And, now you're in the rabbit hole. And so it's, having that awareness. Oh, that just triggered me. Okay. So what must I believe? What am I running through? What program am I running? That's a false story. This is not the truth. This isn't my truth. If it feels shitty, it's not your truth. And I know we keep coming back to that, and we are all here to get back to the truth of remembering who we really are. And so, our end game is, what's my truth? And noticing where society, environment, ancestors, whatever it may be, has programmed us into separation, to denying the truth of who you are. And so, yeah, does it feel awkward at first? Yeah, but the more you start to unpeel that truth, I crave it. I crave it. I like, if something's a lie in my field, I want it gone. Like every day smiling. I'm just like, no, no way, because I did the work to get here, and it was awkward and uncomfortable, and you grieve things, but the other side of it is that we're returning to love. So who the heck? Okay. Oh, I don't want too much love, joy, or harmony, or peace, all that stuff. Like, oh no, why would we want that? But we call it the struggle bus here. And it's like, okay, to get off the struggle bus, number one, recognize you're still riding it. Recognize that you're still riding it, and then say, okay, so what am I holding on to? And many times it's not even your own. Many times it's not even your own energy, but you took it on. And so, we talk a lot about this. It's, such a great, it really is. It's the core of everything.
So why did we take it on? That becomes that becomes the point. That's the healing point right there. Why did we take it on?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So if we are, that we learn we don't need to, obviously.
Oh yeah, that's stand in your power. And well, because like for me, it's just, oh no, it's not even my truth. It's, and recognizing where there were attachments, but I also recognize, and this is where the energetics of the eclipse and prior to and continuing forward, there were energy structures that came into place that went through us. It wasn't even our choice. So it wasn't like we sat there and said, oh, let me pull as much junk onto me as I can. And like Tracy's a great example of this, because she's out there dealing daily with a ton of different energetics, right? And so it's that I feel like the higher your level of awareness gets to, and that practice of, am I in the moment? Am I in the now? If something's triggering me, okay, wait, whoop, that's not me. That's not my truth. And just really authenticity. When you fall out of authenticity, to me, that's when, if I feel my energy dip, I know I'm not looking for my truth right now. I have fallen out of my authenticity. What's going on? And then you make that flip. It just gets faster and faster, because you crave that. You crave your truth, and it's like you have no idea what's coming, but you're okay with it. It's you go from faith and trust to knowing, and then going, okay, something great's happening here. And just because my human eyes can't see it right now, that's okay.
Beautiful.
That's my, that's my example.
Yeah. And I know we only have 6 minutes left, but I definitely want to, mention, Kelly, when you were working with me and I had that awareness of, oh my God, this is what it's from. And, you said journal it, journal out that feeling, that rage, that, because I recognized who it was directed at, from a very young age. And that really helped tremendously in that aspect, to just, have that knowledge and that base of doing that point. Is there other little things that you can share that, don't really, go too much into, taking away from what you do with all your clients?
Well, I was just one other example that might be helpful is when there's the push-pull inside. I call it a push-pull, right? So if we recognize I want to do this, I don't want to do that, or I'm being pulled in one direction versus another, what I have found, it's kind of interesting. Like, let's say it's getting up versus staying in bed, like something as benign as that. Or, I mean, you can create any example, but it's like, what are all the ways your mind and your being interprets and looks at each side of that? And like really clearing out in your field the prioritizing of what is most important for you, right? Is getting up more important versus staying in bed, let's say. And then aligning with that one thing that you go, no, this is my reality. This is my truth, just like you said, right? And that's all I would just add that little piece came in as another way to help us is when we have that, right? That it's a conflict within. Do I go forward or don't I go forward? Why do I want to? Why don't I want to? And then the other thing is, right, what are the drawbacks and what are the benefits of each one? So if I'm looking at the drawbacks and the benefits, then it helps me to know where am I actually sitting in consciousness that's tied to different, it's like, well, is this my mother's voice? Is this my father's voice? Is this my voice? Where's my voice in all of this, right? And where's my power in this? And what do I want? And it just helps to kind of whittle it down and clear the slate, so to speak. So does that answer that question?
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. And I love that point because I think it's so important to know that, okay, it is okay to have our voice now. That's in, to look at, all the old aspects and say, hey, look at us now. Look at who we are. Look in the mirror and like, look at who we are. We've got a voice. We've got tons of tools to move us forward and to release and let go of the shit show.
Well,
what we chose to go into, what we chose to come into.
Right. And to Patty, to your point too, absolutely. Now is the time where we absolutely have to clear all these aspects. We have to get all of these aspects to come back home to kind of follow the leader, which is our true self, right? That knows and has that wisdom, that has that refreshing new idea and has the answers that we all have within us. And to not be pulled by these parts, but it's like clear them quickly and bring them home. And it's like, and like one of the things I do, if it's my 7-year-old or my 13-year-old or my 27-year-old, it's like, you're amazing. I love you. Yeah. You've got so much power. You're incredible. I need you on my team. Get back in here. I'm going to guide us here, but I need your input. I'm not doing this without you. So it's right. So it's like everybody again is in me is back in tune with the highest truth, right? With what is true. And so that anything that shows up that has that sense, that tweak of, uh-oh, or worry or, what, and then it's like, okay, wait a minute. No, we got this. Yeah. We got this.
I love that. Calling everybody home. We're come on back. The water's fine. Cool. Now, Kelly, so if any of our listeners would like to work with you, what's the best way for them to reach you?
Oh, thank you for asking. It's my website is kellysjones.net. So that's with an S. I say as in star, and my daughter's name is Samantha, so it's great. Yeah, Kelly.
I love that. So kellysjones.net.
Yes, net.
And Kelly is just Kelly, no EY. Yeah.
Super. And we just for those of you who are listening, that if you're driving or listening somewhere, don't worry, we will post this as well in the comment section under this episode for anybody that would love to work with Kelly. And Renee is a lovely testimonial here for you. And especially, I feel like this is a subject that many struggle with. Get some guidance from Kelly. And because I mean, this is an area I really feel like when you start to unpeel that onion, you feel that relief that you were looking for, right?
Yeah, you move forward powerfully and fearlessly in your life. I mean, that's the whole point. Yeah. Right? Yeah.
Absolutely. Tracy, any closing thoughts?
No, I think, what I would like to say is we all chose to be here in this game. We are part of the game. We are part of what we've created in society. So for me, I'm like, all right, well, I don't like a lot of things I see. What am I going to do about it? How am I going to show up? How am I going to shift gears? And I think all of that leads us home, leads us back to self-love. So that's kind of my come from.
Love that. Renee?
Nope, she just said it all.
All right. Well, Kelly, thank you again for joining us for this amazing discussion. And thank you to everybody who's been liking, subscribing, and keep those comments coming because we're going to address them all. And you ladies have a beautiful day. Thank you.
Bye.